Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here. But not only, but also, we've got Mr. Xeon.
I've played video games in February.
He has, hasn't he? And we would have Mr. Felix, but timings have not really worked out, and he's actually on leave at the moment. But the basic premise is that we're going to take you through 3 delicious games that came out in February that we think just aren't getting enough attention. And of course, they have to have come out for the Nintendo Switch. To start us off, Felix has a few words very quickly to say about his, which he's very kindly put forward.
Blanc is a cute title that shines on many occasions. Its white snowscapes make for some stunning vistas to run around in, and the music is essential in conveying the atmosphere the developer shoots for. Unfortunately though, its poor frame rate, dodgy locked camera, and frustrating gameplay at times make this one I probably won't go back to anytime soon. That's not to say that you shouldn't give this a go though. It's a very unique and charming experience, and just because I don't want to return to it, doesn't mean I regret playing it. You might not get the most bang for your buck here since the game is around 2 hours long, but if you think Blanc looks interesting and you like short co-op adventures, it's worth giving a go since I don't think I've played anything quite like this.
Thank you, Felix, for those wonderful thoughts and feelings you have about Blanc, or Blanc, whichever way you want to pronounce it.
This has been a game, I mean, I know Nintendo has shown this off a lot in their presentations, but it does, like, the art style looks really nice, and we don't get... I know Felix has said this time and time again, so I'll just reiterate what he has said in the past, but, we don't get enough co-op specific games. And maybe it's just, maybe it's just because it's a certain market, it's harder to pull 2 people together, but it is nice to know that this is, this is still a fun game, with some little hiccups here and there, but that didn't deter Felix from having a good time with it still in the end.
Yeah, a game doesn't have to be perfect in order to be a recommendation. It doesn't even have to be the best example of something you've played. If a game is just pleasant to play, I think that's good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're going to move on to our games as well. Because this will be coming out towards the end of the month, we're also going to allow ourselves a little bit of wiggle room into the previous month as well, which is where my game comes from. So look forward to that. But first, Mr. Xeon, what game have you got? Because I genuinely don't know what game you're going to mention.
Honestly, same. Yeah, for you, I have no idea. So my game, well, if you know, I've recently been starting to learn Japanese, and it's taking me forever. I think mostly because I'm just like not spending a lot of time each day with it. So this game that I saw in the eShop caught my attention, and I picked it up on a whim because I couldn't find like any reviews or anything about it at all. But it's called 7 Days to End with You, which is a very strange title.
Okay.
So I'm going to send you the eShop listing here, Alex, so you can see it for yourself too. If I close Slack again. So this is it's a visual novel adventure game, I suppose, like a point and click, where you are this character that wakes up you have amnesia, you don't remember anything, and the person that you're communicating with is this red-haired character that doesn't speak the language that you speak.
Oh my God. I'm looking at the screenshots now. I just assumed it was going to be Japanese. This is absolutely fascinating. This is so my thing.
Dude, isn't it?
It really is.
I'm so glad you are excited about this. Because, as I was diving into it, I was like, I feel like you would really have a lot of fun with this. Because the cool thing is, so you get hints here and there. Like, there are ways where the character will maybe like draw a picture for you and try to explain what a word is. And the game only uses 100 different words, if you want to call them that, because from what I've seen from some feedback from some of the people that have played the game online, and even some of the information that's been given from the developers themselves, is that not all of these are necessarily actual words. You're just kind of supposed to, like each time you play the game, I've beaten the game 3 times now, I think, within like a 2 or 3 hours, sitting. And each time you play the game, if you do the same things over and over, like the game doesn't really change at all. But there are certain things that you can do in the game that put you down like a correct path. And so there are ways to succeed, I guess, in the game and see different outcomes. But basically, the different words that you gather in the game can mean different things. It's up to your interpretation, like there isn't a right or wrong thing. Like one word doesn't necessarily mean love. It might mean life.
Oh
Yeah?
my word. That is so my sort of thing, because that means whatever is being said can be interpreted in multiple ways. And, sort of depending on how you assign different words. So you can get things wrong, but still believe that you're getting things right.
Yeah, I think so. Like, for example, there was one moment where I was 100% sure that the name of the character, the girl at least that it looks like that you're talking to, and I named them that. But then later on, or the cool thing is you can actually go in and you can, every like word, there's like a little, if you look below, kind of below each word, you'll see like a box. You can click that, and that will allow you to input what you think the word is, and then that will always pull up every time you encounter that word. And then you can also see a history of every time you've encountered that exact word as well. It's kind of like a puzzle in a sense, where, I mean, I imagine you understand this much better than I do already, but but yeah, it's really interesting. And I can say that I have not gotten very far with the game, but I have had a few moments like aha moments where I've managed to solve a puzzle on my own. Like I found out certain words mean color, for example, different colors. And when I recognized that, I was so proud of myself just for putting those pieces together. And man, I'm excited for. I hope you get to give this a shot at some point, because it, like I said, it doesn't seem like it's the longest game, but it is the sort of thing that the more time you give it, I think you'll get more out of it too. Because you can't just walk in and 100% this game in an hour either.
I am honestly so up for giving this a go. This is like so up my street. It's almost like it's kind of like a Cypher game, but at the same time, it's more than a Cypher, because it's not. I'm guessing that the graphology, the written stuff, is not a direct translation. It's not like this symbol means F and this symbol means G and stuff like that, in terms of like it's actually in English or any other language. It may be in another language, but it may be an obscure one. I don't know. But I imagine that there is no way to directly translate it, which means you are at the beck and call of your own interpretations and context and syntax. Is the syntax, do you know, is that based on English?
What is syntax?
Like word order and stuff like that. So we would say the black cat, but in French it's le chat noir. So it's the cat's black.
So there are a few sentences or even just dialogue boxes that I feel like I've translated or figured out, and sometimes it doesn't always read properly, but it still makes sense. Like I think at one point I managed to get the character to ask me a question, and the word order doesn't seem right, but that also could be like you were saying earlier too, is that I'm deriving the correct information, but maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm not spelling it out perfectly either. Because there isn't always a right or wrong, perfect answer for each.
Yeah, because I mean, you could be on the right track. You could think that a word is car, for example, when in actual fact the word is vehicle. And it's a broader term, or even a more precise term. You think that what someone's referring to is a cloth, or when in fact it's a specific. It is a cleaning cloth or a glasses cloth, and it's quite important. That's like a terrible example, but you get the idea.
But I see what you mean.
You can get a general vague idea of something, or you can go too precise at the same time, and that's just so my thing.
Dude, I'm gonna end up buying you a copy of this game by the end of the day, just to make sure that it doesn't get like forgotten by you somehow. I do want to point out too, there are, I don't think everybody should be like jumping out of their chairs to go find their Nintendo Switch and buy this immediately. I do think that this game caters to a very particular audience that,
yeah.
enjoys visual novels, or, somebody like you that like loves language so much.
Oh, yeah. I'm not big on visual novels, but the language side
Yeah.
of things is really tickling a certain part of my brain.
If you and I like lived in the same town, I would totally hang out with you and play this in person, like
Oh,
spend a night
yeah.
or two, like kick back a beer or something and just try to pen and paper this. That would be so much fun. So I think, for anybody who has a great streaming community, I think this would be a fun game to like play on stream, or just, kick back with a pal. And yeah, and that was 7 Days to End with You. Really, like I said, I could not find a lot of chatter about this game online.
Yeah, I've
but
never heard of it. I to be honest, I look at it, I wouldn't have given it a second look just from the title and everything.
But that's the cool thing with this video idea. So, but what is your pick, Alex? What do you got brewing for us?
Well, my pick is almost the polar opposite, to be brutally honest. Onion Assault. And I've just sent you the eShop list.
Dude, yes! I saw this, and I know next to nothing about it, but I'm so stoked to hear about it now.
Oh, it's a very simple, straightforward game. It's not expensive. It's made by the creator of Gunman Clive, if anyone's familiar with that. Really sort of bite-sized adventures, but really kind of nicely refined and fun, and just like very sort of arcadey in many ways. And Onion Assault is that all the way through. I mean, I could say it has layers, but I'm not going to go there. Because to be honest, it's actually a very straightforward game. It definitely has some different elements that it brings in to mix things up and make the game more interesting. But the basic premise is that it is a 2D platformer, not entirely dissimilar to the Western release of Super Mario Bros. 2 or Doki Doki Panic. So you run along, you stand on top of enemies, pick them up, throw them at other enemies, and you get profit from that. And it takes that very basic idea and it runs away with it. It doesn't go like completely massively OTT to the point that it's sort of obtuse or obscure or complicated, but like you will come up against tanks as enemies and you think, oh no, what am I going to do? I've got to throw onions because you pick onions out of the ground, or enemies. I've got to throw them at the tank in order to defeat it. And you can, or as long as you don't stand on the wrong place, you can just stand on top of it, mash the pickup button, and you'll just pick up the whole tank, and you can walk around with it. It's great.
I'm not gonna lie, like I'm watching some gameplay right now and seeing the main character, pick up the tank and like pick up humans and just carry them as they're flailing around. It looks really silly, and the floatiness. I obviously I haven't played this game myself yet, but it looks like it stays really true to the Mario Bros. 2 Doki Doki Panic like gameplay style, or even like the feel of the game, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it does. It's definitely it's definitely faster, I would say. You can, I mean, like the walking speed feels plenty fast enough, and then it tells you can run, and it's like, whoa! And I mean, it's not uncontrollable or anything, but you can still get by pretty well without running, which I think is a nice option. You do have to run at times, but it's at the same time, it's not like you're expected to run constantly, even if you do like I do. And also, it's not a tremendously... The thing is, it's not a really hard game, but it's also not really simple either. Like, it's a decent challenge. You go in and you will die. The platforming is relatively precise, and things can feel a tiny bit slippery at times, and some of the hitboxes can be a bit mean. But you're so quick to just start again. It's never that bad, and it makes the eventual the time when you eventually do get to a checkpoint, or you manage to complete the level, it makes it all the sweeter, and it's just great. The real icing on the cake as well is that you get a choice of character. You can play as big buff man who throws onions, or you can do what I do and play as presumably his mother. Which
that's
means,
what who that is.
Which means you can run through the entire game as a very determined looking like Nonna or Babcha, which is just, I love it. It's so out there, but at the same time it fits so well within everything else that's happening. She's not some frail old woman, you know. She's got arms like baked potatoes, and she's going to pick up onions and throw them. She's going to defeat this oncoming army that we have no idea why it's happening. And the game's not super massive either, but it's also not super short. I think I'd say it's longer than Gunman Clive, certainly.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I think the eShop listing said 16 levels. Do you know how long it took you to beat like a single level, I guess, or two?
It varies a lot, obviously, but the levels I would say are definitely, I would say the multi-minute mark, so I would say maybe about sort of 3 or 4 minutes per level. And then if you get a particularly tricky level, could take up to 10 minutes. But I'm not 100% confident about that. Just because I wasn't timing myself.
Does the game have like other inspirations or like callbacks to Mario Bros 2 that you can tell with like its menu system or anything like that too? Like, is there like not an overworld, but
I mean, there is a map screen. It's not really like Super Mario Bros 2. It's that sort of core idea. They don't take like too many liberties from the source material. It wears its inspiration on its sleeves, but it doesn't like rest on that idea too much. It's still very much its own thing. And the menus are kind of simple and straightforward. It's, it's a cheaper game on the eShop, but, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of the creator's name, but Bertil Horberg, he produces games where the gameplay is the front and center. Gameplay first, then visuals. Everything else is just kind of like, it'll be fine. Or at least that's the impression that I get. And yeah, the gameplay is what is absolutely best about this. It looks pretty good as well. I don't think it's, I mean, it's a little bit basic in some places. It almost looks like a lot of the, really, really rubbish, budget platformer games that are just like mobile ports that you can get on Switch. But that done by an actual competent team, or indeed in this case, a competent person. Because it does have that sort of big, bright, bold, colorful aesthetic, but it actually pulls it off. And it's well animated, simple, clean. It's just a great time. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good, man. Yeah, it reminds me a lot, like, especially hearing you talk about it more and more, I'm realizing that this feels like a game that would have been perfect for the WiiWare. Like, just, sure, Wii U, I guess. But I could, just like, into Lost Winds, like days, like Defend Your Castle, all those weird games. I feel like this belongs like right at home with them. Because do you know what's the deal with the onions as well? Do you? Maybe that's going just right over my head.
I don't know, but there are an awful lot of onions in the game. You don't only throw onions, because obviously you can throw enemies, but there are also like other fruit you can throw at times, and there's barrels, and barrels will roll along the ground. And you can do things like there are flying enemies and you can stand on their heads, very Super Mario Bros. 2 style, and you can use them to get these special onion coins, which are like 3 coins with onions on them. 3 per level. You collect them. I have no idea what they do. Maybe you get something if you collect them all. I don't know.
I am so glad you brought this game up because I had considered it for my pick, but I didn't go play it. Like I decided I'm going to check out 7 Days to End With You instead. And now that means I'm just going to go buy Onion Assault when we're done with this discussion. Because I'm so glad to hear that like you genuinely enjoyed it too. Because it looked, the Mario Bros 2 inspiration seemed really fun. Because I feel like we don't get a lot of games like trying to try out that style so much. And even I've heard so many good things about Gunman Clive too.
Oh, so yeah, Gunman Clive is nice. Classic.
Yeah, was that like the 3DS or was that even Wii U or something?
It was Wii U and 3DS, I believe. You can get it on Switch as well, the Gunman Clive collection, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
It definitely has some areas where it's not quite as refined as other games, but it is a budget game. It's $8 on the eShop, and I think you can absolutely get $8 of fun out of this. It's just, and I don't know what it is in pounds because I bought it from the US eShop because I just happened to have some credit on my US account. So
nice.
I don't know how much it costs in the UK. I'm gonna look it up. Oh, it's £7.19.
Okay, cool.
You definitely get your money's worth for that. It's also one of those games that's enjoyable to replay, I feel. I haven't, sort of reached the point where I'm going to be replaying it, but in the same way that occasionally I just pick up Gunman Clive and just blast through the whole thing, and it's like, yep, that was, a few, not even a few hours. I mean, Onion Assault, I think, is longer. I think you could probably, if you were like just blasting through it as a replay, you could probably get through it in maybe an hour and a half, I would say, maybe 2 hours. But first time playthrough, I think 2 or 3 hours is fair.
Dude, that's the thing I'm really coming to appreciate more and more as like we get older
Oh,
as
God,
well.
me
It's just
too.
like when Game Boy, Nintendo Switch Online, when that just finally came out, like I played Kirby's Dream Land and Super Mario Bros. 2, which I've never actually like played much of. And they were so short and like just nice.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to hear that Onion Assault is not going to be like there's definitely a place for a 10, 20 hour platformer. I absolutely love those, but it's nice to know that this is something that could just be played fully, like in an evening or two if you need.
Yeah, I really appreciate small bite-sized games more than I ever would, and this fits the bill for me. I think it's a really, really lovely little game. It's not going to be going toe-to-toe with a 2D Mario game, but yeah, for what it is, it's a bargain. I think it's fantastic. But anyway, there you have it. 3 excellent eShop games that we feel aren't quite getting as much attention as they could. I mean, I'm well aware Blanc was in like 3 Nintendo Directs, but even
right.
then, like there hasn't been much chatter afterwards. So I think it's a fair inclusion. But let us know what you think of this idea and whether you're going to pick up any of these games. Maybe you found a new favorite. Maybe not. We can't tell. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you throw an onion at that subscribe button and work out what the onion's trying to say. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
The world ends in 7 days with you club the video game.
Assault.